Alright, this is going to be a comparison video of previous GPUs that I have used and personally owned compared to my new GPU, the RTX 3070 Super. And I'm going to be comparing it with in Blender using cycles, CUDA, and optics. Now, here are my previous results from times past with the GTX 1060s and the 2060 Supers. Now, I have not actually tested the either of the 1060s or the 2060s in this particular motherboard because I have an X570 motherboard now, but I don't think it would make any difference because, uh, quite frankly, the 2060 and the 1060s are all use third gen PCI Express, and the 3070 uses fourth gen, which is one reason why I upgraded to a 570 motherboard. So I think it would still be representative or fair to compare them, even though it's going to be like a tortoise and the hare race to a degree. All right, now let's go ahead and do the BMW first, and I'm just going to put since I only have one 3070, we're only going to really compare it to, well, I guess I can compare the results to against two also. But I'm going to go ahead and load up the BMW file, open, and where are you at? Documents, Blender stuff, Blender demo files, and I'm going to choose the BMW. Now I've got GPU turned on. Let me go to preferences, go to system, and let's do CUDA first. I'm gonna move, I got it set to CUDA with the RTX 3070. I'm gonna move this over out of the way. And what time are we? Here are the times. Alright, let me go ahead and click render. And I'm expecting this to take about 30 seconds. Now, my system specs, I am using an X570 Asus TUF motherboard, and I am using a Ryzen 3900X, and it is not overclocked. It is running bone stock with a Hyper 212 cooler. Down here, this is my CPU temp, and this is my clock speed for my CPU. Alright, took 34.67 seconds. So let's add that right here. We'll just say 34.7, and that's a big difference obviously between a 1060. Twice as fast as a single RTX 2060 Super. Almost twice as fast. And with two, pardon me, with two RTX 2060 Supers running a CUDA, it's still faster than two of them. So let's now run it in optics. Bring over my preferences, change it to optics, and then click render. And this should be quite a bit quicker. Now, of course, you could always render quicker and still have the same quality. And all you have to do is just click turn on adaptive sampling. So it took basically 21 seconds. So let's go ahead and add that right here. 21 seconds. So it's takes roughly 18 seconds for two 2060s to render it, and the 3070 done it in 21 seconds. Now, without screen capture going, it will do it in about 19 seconds. So that's not bad. Let's go move on to the Barcelona, but just for fun, let's go ahead and click adaptive sampling, turn that on, And all adaptive sampling does is it will not render parts of it that doesn't need to be rendered any further to get past a certain noise threshold. It ends up making it quicker. Render image, and it will be quicker, but it will not be a whole lot quicker. But see, that's not bad. 12 seconds. Yeah, not bad at all. Especially with the only thing you clicked is that, and the results are indistinguishable. Alright, let's open up Barcelona. Open, don't save. And where are you at, Barcelona? Right here. Alright. Now, what times are we looking at? A single 2060 in CUDA did it in 439 seconds. So, let's go ahead and go to Preferences, turn on CUDA, Render Image. Alright. Let me bring up a calculator here, and let's see, 439 divided by 60 equals 7.3 minutes is what it took to render this in CUDA with an RTX 2060. So we're looking to beat that. 7.3 minutes. And I can tell you right now, it's going to. I'm not going to fast forward through any of this because a lot of people, I think, well, some people just want to see the results. A lot of people that I know, especially myself, I would rather see it in real time instead of just looking at the results, because there is something that's visually lost, or especially when you're making comparisons, that's lost when you're not actually showing the render times. Now, normally if I was going to do a video like this, I would have actually had an RTX 2060 Super in my computer and then compare them side by side, but I don't actually have any 2060s in this case right now. I have them in another computer, and I didn't feel like moving them around, basically. So you'll have to just look at the results for the 2060s and the 1060s. Of course, I will leave a link to the benchmarks that I have done in the past in the description of this video, so that you can actually go watch those videos if you want. Coming up on 2.5 minutes, and it looks like it's going to have about a minute left. So it looks like it's going to be in and around twice as fast as the 2060 Super, which is pretty much on par with what I assumed based on the specs. Because whenever you're rendering in Blender, the number of CUDA cores scales much better than it does in gaming. In gaming, if you double the CUDA cores, you're not going to have twice the performance. You may have 20% better performance or 25% better performance. But in Blender, if you double the CUDA cores, you're going to almost have essentially double the performance. It scales better. Just the nature of the beast. Alright, it's almost finished. 3 minutes and 22 seconds, which is 202 seconds. 202, see? 439 versus 202, more than twice as fast in CUDA, rendering this scene. Alright, now let's do, whoops, I don't know why it does that every once in a while. Let's set this up for optics, and then we'll render this and see how long it takes. It should be quite a bit quicker. I'm going to go ahead and bring my OBS back up because it downsized. That's a funny thing about Windows 10. If you're moving a window around, like how I've been moving this around, if I go up towards the edge or something, see how it kind of flashes? It will want to downsize stuff. I hate that. Alright, almost halfway finished, and we're only 30 seconds into it. Granted, the top portion is much, much quicker to render than the bottom portion. And the 2060 Super did it in 196 seconds. So that's basically what, 3 minutes and 16 seconds? That's what we're looking to beat. And it looks like it's going to do it in about 1 minute 45 seconds. Maybe a little bit quicker. Probably going to be a little quicker. And down here, this pink number, down here in the bottom right, that's my temperature in Celsius for the 3070, 56C. And the temperature in this house is currently about 70 degrees. 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah. Temperatures are great on this 3070. Alright, took 1 minute and 32 seconds or 92 seconds. So let me put 92 right here. So it went from 196 seconds with a 2060 Super down to 92 seconds. Again, more than twice as fast as a 2060 Super. Not bad. Alright, let's go over to the classroom. And right, where you at? Here we go. Right here's the one we're going to need. File. Open. Don't save. And here's the classroom. Alright. Edit. Preferences. Go to CUDA. And render. And we are looking for, well, let me stop that. It's defaults to CPU. I don't want to do CPU. Let's try this one more time. Render image. And this is with CUDA and the 3070. And we're looking at 281 seconds is how long it took the a 2060 Super. So basically that's 4 minutes and 41 seconds is how long it took. And I can tell you right now, this is going to crush it. I need to move this over just a little bit so you can see it better. And move this down. All in all, I am very impressed with the 3070, and this Gigabyte 3070 is very quiet also, except for one thing. If it does start running, you know, around 65 degrees, the fan speed kicks in quite a bit, and the fans are fairly noticeable, but they're not loud. But it's one of those 3 fan designs, so it's still quieter compared to, it's quieter than the 2060 Super Founders Edition, which is what I have. Alright, let's see, it took 1 minute 41 seconds or 101 seconds. That's a huge difference. 101. You're talking 281 seconds versus 101 seconds. Almost 3 times faster than the 2060 Super rendering in CUDA. Alright, now let's try in optics. In optics, it took 163 seconds for the 2060. Let's try that here. Edit, preferences, optics 3070, render, image, bring this over. And I can tell you right now, this is going to be quick, and it's definitely going to be faster than 163. I've been gaming too a little bit more than usual, and running. I really only have 2 games. Beam NG. I can turn up the settings to the max on the everything, and I'm running 160 frames per second. On a Dirt 5, I can turn up the settings ultra on everything, run native resolution, and I'm running 120 frames per second. Of course, Dirt 5, I thought it was going to be RTX, or pardon me, have ray tracing, but it doesn't have it yet. They do plan on adding ray tracing to it, but until they do, I'm not going to be doing a video about the gaming aspects of the 3070. Alright, you see it took a 1 minute and 5 seconds, well, 1 minute and 6 seconds, really. So that's 66 seconds. See, went from 163 seconds down to 66 seconds. Again, more than twice as fast. And just for comparison, let me bring this over. 2 RTX 2060 Supers in optics did it in 88 seconds. One 3070 is 25% faster than 2 2060 Supers. I mean, I have no complaints about that. I like the 3070. I really do. Alright, now which one do we want to go to? The barber shop. That's a good one. Alright. Let's see. One RTX. Let me click on that box. And then let's open up the barber shop. Nope. Don't want to save. And here it is. Now the barbershop is definitely a more intense scene. It will take quite a bit longer than the other benchmarks. Preferences, CUDA. Now, I couldn't get these. The barbershop scene has volumetrics, and RTX or optics does not quite work right with volumetrics, which is why I had the optics using or trying to render the barbershop failed. It would render it, but it would either do it very, very badly, or it would take 3 times longer than it did with CUDA. So keep that in mind. We're going to do this CUDA first, and we're looking for something faster than 997 seconds. Render image. Let me downsize this a little bit so it's all showing. And where's my calculator? 997 divided by 60. So we're looking for something faster than 16 minutes. Faster than 16.6 minutes. Alright. And again, I'm not going to fast forward through this either. Now this will take a bit. Well, actually, I will fast forward through this because it's going to be like 8 minutes. I know you don't want to sit through this for another 8 minutes. I'm going to fast forward now. right, it looks like it's going to be done in about 10 seconds or so. And as you can see, the performance difference with this scene is not as huge as it was with the other scenes. I don't exactly know why. My gut instinct is that it's just because it's a more complicated scene. There were so many different objects. It's just going to be more difficult to render regardless. But I don't really understand why there's not as much of a difference in performance with this one. Alright, you can see it took 6 minutes and 59 seconds. We'll just call it 7 minutes because it's so close. So that's 660 seconds. 660. So it's basically, what, 1/3 quicker is all? Or 33% quicker? Which, again, that seems weird to me. But the results are what they are. Now, I'm going to try in optics just to see what happens. Right here is the results I had with the 2060 and the barbershop scene, but in optics. Now, it showed 147 seconds one time, but there was tons of noise in this, so it didn't render correctly. And whenever I tried it with two 2060s, I never let it finish because it was showing that it was going to take like 30 something minutes, something along those lines. So I just stopped it. But we'll go ahead and try it here and see what happens. Edit, preferences, optics, render, image. And I probably won't let this go if it looks like it's going to take significantly longer than 660 seconds or 7 minutes. But I just want to see what it does. Maybe they done something to make volumetrics work better in the new RTX cores. I don't know. I don't know if it's a coding issue or if it's a hardware issue or what. That stuff is way over my head. Yeah, see, it's got the same issue it had before. Normally, you would think RTX would be quicker, but because you would think optics would be quicker, but because optics doesn't do volumetrics correctly in almost every case, it's actually going to take longer. See, it's been going for almost a minute now, and it's still showing roughly 9 minutes left. And it's actually going to probably be closer to 11 minutes is how long it would take. So that would definitely be longer than it was in CUDA. Well, no. Well, yeah, it would be longer than it took in CUDA. So it's kind of a fail, in my opinion. Even though it's rendering it correctly, it's taking longer than CUDA. So it's a fail in my book. Alright, now, I guess I could open up the tree creature one and see what that looks like. Let me stop this. And then open. No, I don't want to save. Let me go to the forest first. This is a pretty good EV scene, and we'll try this out. Now, I have render results, how long it took to actually render the output. I'm not going to do that here. But what I will do is just play through this in real time and see what it looks like. I can tell you right now that plays a whole lot smoother than the 2060 Super. Way smoother. That's actually pretty good quality considering. Going from one spot to the other, you can see it takes about a half second to really render to full quality. Alright, now let's go to the tree creature. File. Open. No, I don't want to save. And where is that tree? Right here he is. And this is another one that's made for EV. And takes a minute for all the textures to load. Alright, there we go. Let me go back to the beginning and then click play. That's not bad real-time performance. I can tell you that's better than the 2060, but it's still not great, in my opinion. But there's a lot going on in this scene. Now let's bounce from location to another and see it's taken probably about the same amount of time, a good half second, for it to render in full quality, which isn't bad. I've always wanted to do this. Turn off Eevee, go to cycles, GPU, and let me put this on solid view. Edit, preferences, optics is on. Let's see what happens. Just see what this looks like. Well, apparently something is off with this with the seed, and it just will not render correctly. I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to try to figure it out because I know it just looks silly. But yeah. Let's see what other one. All right. I'll tell you what. Let me open up Render Man. Open? No. I think I got Render. Yeah, here he is. And I like using this one for cycles in viewport render. I'm not exactly sure why, except for the fact that I just like the way it looks. Alright, GPU, edit, preferences, optics, and we'll put this in rendered preview. It'll take a minute or a few seconds to warm up to initialize the scene. Select something on him so I can orbit around that, and that's the viewport rendering performance. That's about the best way I know to compare it, or to demonstrate it rather. And let me go over here to adaptive sampling, turn that on, go to denoise. Takes a minute to initialize. Go to viewport, put it on optics, and now here's is the optics viewport. Not bad. That's not bad at all. Takes about 3 seconds to get to something that looks decent. I can, if doing this with a GTX 1060, it takes literally 30 seconds to make it look decent. Of course, it didn't have optics. It didn't have. I didn't have the viewport denoiser whenever I was using the 1060s. But realistically, they got this viewport set to 512. You could set it to 32. And it works just fine, because realistically within probably 10 samples on the viewport it looks decent because you have the denoiser turned on. But that's not bad right there. Alright, I guess that's going to be it. If you have any requests, whether you want to see this render something or you want it compared in a certain other way, let me know. And I will try to provide that for you. But anyway, I guess that's it. Later, people.